coming to you live and direct from trade at Turnmills with Frankie Knuckles.
All right, let's get into it. First of all, I am Will Jackson from Friday Night House Music Mix here in Kaiserslautern, Germany. We're coming to you from the what was Penthouse and Pavement Studios, but is now M3 Factory Studios here again in Kaiserslautern, Germany. And I just wanted to kind of I hadn't did a blog from the DJ's Corner, and I just wanted to kind of do a short one, basically about the most recent passing of one of the pioneer DJs of house music, Frankie Knuckles. Passed away earlier this week, and I had no idea of the impact that he had on the world as far as house music is concerning. I know, as for myself and many other people from Detroit, Michigan, and from Chicago and from New York, he had a following of what we call house heads, people that was deeply into house music. And me coming from Detroit, Michigan, at the time when house music first started, which was the early 80s, it was a phenomenal experience to actually be a part of the house music movement during that time in the early 80s. And throughout the 80s, when I was in high school, we followed the careers of Frankie Knuckles, Blake Baxter, Larry Levan, and the other greats that started, Kevin Sanderson, the other greats that started the movement from Chicago and Detroit and New York. Can't forget Louis Vega. But this is about Frankie Knuckles. What a lot of people don't know is that, again, like I said, he had a very, very in-depth connection with the people in the house movement under him. A lot of people that kind of grew up to become DJs and producers would always reference back to Frankie Knuckles and how important he was as a producer and DJ, and his overall spirit. And I know, as for myself, I followed his career throughout the 80s and 90s, right up to the point to where I started doing music, producing and DJing, which was earlier in the 2000s. Of course, I came in at a later point in my life, but music has always been a part of my life ever since I was a child, growing up in Detroit. I've always listened to disco, I've always listened to house music, and I've always been deep into music in general, but I've always kept house music close to my heart. And it's such a sad occasion to actually do a blog about someone who is so prolific in the house movement, such as Frankie Knuckles. But again, I feel blessed that, coming from Detroit, Michigan, living in the United States, I feel blessed that I was born in an era that I can actually say that I experienced his music, his style, his energy, and following his career right up to the point that made me want to actually become a DJ and a producer, house music producer myself. Again, living here in Germany, and it's so funny because today I actually heard on the news, on German radio station, they reported about Frankie Knuckles passing. And it struck me out. I was like, wow, he must have really, really touched a lot of people to the point to where all the way over here in Germany that they would mention him and pay respect and homage to him. And I've always said over the years on how important house music is, and how a lot of people downplay the genre of house music, and they say, they just throw, kind of like toss to the side and say it's not real music, it's not really creative music, whatever. But it is. House music is a spiritual music expression, and you would have to be a part of house music to really understand the spiritual connection with it. And as I'm playing here, this is one of his DJ sets. Actually, it's a pirated DJ set that I've actually had in my collection going on 15 years now. And I've kept this, and I will listen to it constantly for 15 years. And I still have it. Actually, I have replaced it with a digital copy, but I still have it. And a couple of more of his sets, vintage sets, that you probably can't find on the internet. But this is from Trade Center from London, and this is Frankie Knuckles. And you can just, the music that he's playing is just strictly ahead of its time. Deep house that he's mixing. And this is what he meant to a lot of people. His energy, his love for what he crafted, his style, his productions, his DJing. He really stood by what he believed in, which was house music, and touching as many people as he can. But it was always focused on the one. Just one person if he can touch. That's all that mattered to him. And I feel that same way. I adopted that motto as my own. It's not about playing for a crowd. It's about reaching the one. If you can reach the one, that's all that matters. But again, this is what Frankie Knuckles meant to me, and he's going to be greatly missed. I've had many times on my show, my podcast, house music show, every Friday night, I would feature his mixes, his DJing sets, which is called The Vault, and I'm going to continue to do so. I've always admired him as an artist, and I became so inspired through all these years from his music, and he will continue to be an inspiration to me and countless others in the world. House music is going to live forever as one unique musical genre. I say that if I have anything to do with it, I'm going to keep it alive until the last breath I breathe. Because it's all about the music, it's all about the creativity, and it's something that I truly love and admire. Again, this is Will Jackson here at the M3 Factory Studios here in Kaiserslautern, Germany. This is about Frankie Knuckles, his recent passing, and how much he is going to be missed. Thanks for listening. Oh, and be sure to tune in Friday night. Stay tuned, because Friday night I'm going to do a tribute to some of his music, and we're going to go back to doing deep house. For the past couple of weeks, I guess I've been kind of like on this kick of doing minimal techno and deep trance, but we're going to go back. I'm spinning it back, and we're going to go back to deep house. And I'm going to feature some of Frankie Knuckles' music. So stay tuned. Tune in Friday night, 12 midnight Central European Time at www.podbean.com